We'll now start with JavaScript. Now, what's JavaScript? Whenever we are seeing a website, it consists of three basic tools, which are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML, as we already discussed in our introduction, it is giving a structure to a website, and CSS gives it the website its design. It is like the icing on the cake, and JavaScript is what we use to define how the website functions, how the website responds to your instructions. For example, whenever you are saying YouTube for YouTube, HTML is often defining the the way the whole document is structured or the whole website is structured, like the search bar is at the top, etc., etc. CSS is adding the style into the website because HTML files are blankly pretty much raw without any styling and with some defaults and a white background and all. And JavaScript on the other side is basically managing everything that you are trying to do on YouTube or interacting with the YouTube, whether you are searching, whether you are clicking on videos, whether you are watching videos, whether you are using those controls like forward, backward, etc., etc. So all of them are implemented in either JavaScript or a backend programming language. But yeah, even in front end, even if in the interface of a website, JavaScript is often used. Now let's understand JavaScript more. JavaScript is a lightweight interpreted programming language. It is designed for creating network-centric applications. It is complementary to and integrated with Java. JavaScript is very easy to implement because it is integrated with HTML. It is open and cross-platform, but JavaScript and Java are totally different languages with totally different concepts. Java, on the other hand, is used for high-level desktop applications and even in the web, but mostly for desktop applications. And the reason that JavaScript got Java in its name is because Java was a really popular language back then, and JavaScript developers they just thought that would add up to the marketability of the programming language to include Java in the name. So people would basically recognize it more. And now, why to learn JavaScript? JavaScript is a must for students and working professionals because with JavaScript you can nowadays you can develop a lot of things. JavaScript is the programming language of the web. So without JavaScript, if you are trying to access the web technologies or learn web technologies, it would be really difficult for you because JavaScript is I wouldn't be wrong if I said that JavaScript is dominating the web. Even if you are looking at web developer jobs or web developer occupations, you will be seeing that people are highly demanding React.js developers, Next.js developers, Merge Stack developers, etc., etc., which are basically frameworks of JavaScript. And so, learning JavaScript really makes it beneficial for you because you'll see slowly the norm of using computer applications or the software applications in your desktop is decreasing, and the probability of people using websites instead of a dedicated app and filling up their memory is increasing. So nowadays people usually in the market prefer websites over installing 100 apps. That's a different case for Android, but for the desktop it is working. Now, JavaScript is the most popular programming language in the world, and that makes it the programmer's greatest choice and the safest choice. Once you learn JavaScript, it helps you developing both server-side technology and client-side technology. Server-side technology is basically how your website is stored in a server and how it is managed, basically backend. And front end deals with the client side technology or what we are able to see. For example, if we are having a drop down menu, the drop down menu doesn't work on CSS. Yes, it is designed by the CSS, but what happens after we click the buttons, the drop down menu that will be displayed to us, that is what JavaScript handles. So that is like the client side. But let's not go to that much details because all these we learn by making projects and all. And that was pretty much the introduction to JavaScript. Now let's just understand how to use JavaScript. First of all, you don't need anything in your computer to run JavaScript. JavaScript is always there inside your browser. JavaScript runs on the web. In fact, on any website, even my home page, I can just go to the inspect element and then I can run JavaScript in the console. Now what is console? This is what I want to highlight, that the console API or the console tab in the inspect element provides the functionality to allow developers to perform debugging tasks such as logging messages and values of variables. For example, if I am writing here console.log hello world, and you'll see that it basically displays hello world, and we can run JavaScript code in the console itself. So this is where we can have a very raw example of JavaScript, but as we have already learned HTML and CSS, we'll try to understand, or we will understand, that HTML CSS के साथ how can we implement JavaScript. Now JavaScript, first of all, let's go to our VS Code. In VS Code, one second, we'll open our VS Code and then we'll make a new file, index.html, one second. So in the index.html, where we'll use the emmet to have our basic template. Now we'll see where to write JavaScript. I'll show you a little example. We can use JavaScript in the body tag itself. If we write simply script here, then you will see that between whatever we write within this will be considered the JavaScript code for the certain website. So if I write console.log hello world here, then if we first let's launch it in live server. Yeah, now if we go to our inspect element and we go to our console, you will see that hello world has been printed out. So JavaScript can be run like this inside the HTML document itself, but our conventional approaches, or what we'll use throughout the tutorial, is how to write JavaScript from an external file. Now first of all, we'll make a file, index.js. Yes, the file extension is index.js, or file extension is JS. Now what we'll do is we'll remove the script, and in the header tag, or you can even do it in the body tag, script. Actually, I'd rather do it in the body tag because it's a more conventional method. Let's go script src index.js, or our file name, whatever you define. Now if we reload the website, what went wrong? Oh yeah, we haven't written our code yet. So I'll again write console.log hello world, and we'll see that in our console it is printed. Now we can tweak around the console a bit too. For example, if I do console.warn, this is warning in strings, or in single quotes or double quotes, your choice. So this will basically display us a warning. Then console.error, this is a warning. Then another one, console.assert. Now imagine assert, if we assert 2 equal to 2, that means check if 2 is equal to 2, and if we run it, nothing comes as an output. But suppose we run something false, so for example 2 is equal to 3, which is not true, then the assertion fails. So it tells us directly that the assertion has not been matched. So I use this a lot of times, the console, for mathematical calculations too. Suppose 98 was 133, then 98 minus 2, 23, 64 into 4, and other functions. You can directly do it here. I often use this instead of a calculator. You can even do multiple operations here. For example, 56 plus 65 by 2. So yeah, this is how we can operate a lot in JavaScript. And that was it for the console API. First of all, now we'll proceed with our next concept, that is variables. Now we're going to proceed with variables, and keep in mind that from now some of the concepts like variables, comments, data types and operators and all, these are some fundamental concepts of any programming language. So once you understand the concept, you'll easily be able to shift away from JavaScript and learn other programming languages with ease too. But it's important to catch these concepts. Now, what are variables? Variables are used to store data values in a programming language. Now, what do I mean by that? Variables are pieces in a program that are assigned some values, and then we can use those variables to reference those values at a later state in the program. For example, in JavaScript we can define a variable by var equal to 9. We write 9. Now what we'll do is console.log a. So we defined a variable called a and assigned it the value of 9. Console.log a should be printing out 9. Now let's go back to our website. Yeah, it prints out 9. And I'll comment out this previous code. Yeah. So it prints out 9. So these are basically variables. Now we'll move on to comments before I start data types. Comments, or whatever I'm doing by these double slashes, comments are basically explanatory pieces of code that are not read by the compiler or by the interpreter in the case of JavaScript. So whenever a computer reads the program, it will ignore the messages because we write comments to explain the code to the other developers or someone who is seeing the code. So all these messages are not seen by the computer program or the program executor, and this is only seen by us, so we can only read this. And I'm doing this just because I can pass on this file to you later on in the description. So comments are basically explanatory statements. They are not read in the program, they are not a part of the program. You can write anything in them. Now there are two types of comments. One is single line comments. So single line comments can be the ones that are defined by backslashes, and multi-line comments are defined by a slash and an asterisk. Yeah, they are defined as such, and in between them you can write any number of lines of comments that you want. Like I can write alpha, beta, gamma, and say in the case of single line comments we can't do that. If we go to our next line, we again have to redefine the double slashes, or we continue by writing the code. Now that was comments. It is really a pretty small topic. Now let's go to data types. So once we have known to how to store data into something, we need to know how many kinds of data can we store. So JavaScript has some data types. So JavaScript has 8 data types, which are string, number, begin, boolean, undefined, null, symbol, and object. First of all, we look at string. Var a we have already defined, so let's not do it. S. Var s. Hello, John. This is a string data type, and var j 89. This is a number data type. So this is a string data type, number data type. Then there are also Boolean data types. Boolean data types are basically indicators or if a condition is true or false. I'm going to show it to you in the browser itself, in the console itself. Suppose console.log 3 is greater than 1. Now all of us know that 3 is actually greater than 1. So if we are going to do this, it is going to return us a Boolean data type, which will be telling if the condition is true or false. So we'll see that it returns false. It returns true. Now we'll make it return false. For example, 1 is greater than 3. So true and false are basically booleans. Now after knowing what is booleans, we'll come to the null data type. Var n equal to null. Now, null basically means that we are assigning the value or the variable that we are asserting that the value has no value. And for undefined, we are again we can define undefined. Yeah, so in this approach, what we are doing is we are defining the value, we are defining the variable that we are telling it that you don't have a value for now. Then what is the difference between null and undefined? I mean, you might be thinking it is the same thing just because both hold no value. But null means that we are asserting that the variable has no value and we don't want a value there. While undefined means that the value has not been assigned yet, but it can be assigned in the future. So that was our basic data types, and symbols are a bit more complex and we don't need it for now. So I'll skip symbols. You can also go to the internet and research about it, but I'm skipping symbols for now. Then there's also a big int. Now big int is for really large integers, um, which is I think more than 10 to the power 53. So for large integers, suppose bg, we write a really long integer. Now how do you define this as big int? For defining it as big int, we need to add an n at the ending. So when we end it, we will be adding n. Now how do we check what data type does one category belong to or one variable belong to? First of all, let's write begin. Well, these are already defined, so we can access it through the console itself. Suppose we are going to say console.log type of, and we write our variables b here. We'll see that our b variable is boolean. Then we'll see s string, j number, bg big int, and null and undefined will come as usual. So if we write n, it comes as an object. Now null is basically belonging to objects. And how do we understand that? Well, it is because that null is basically an empty reference to an object. Now what's an object? First of all of these that we came through were basically they were belonging to a certain category of data types which are called primitive data types. Now we'll learn about some reference data types. Now reference data types, the first thing we'll learn is objects. What is an object? An object is basically a key value pair. Obj equal to key value pair. Now what is key value pair? First of all, it is like a dictionary. If you've used Python, it is basically storing a key and a value assigned to it, or you can call it a storehouse of multiple variables. So let's say name John, job programmer. This is how we basically define objects, and if we want to access the elements of the object, we can simply write console.log obj, and you will see that we have our complete data that we had input into our object. And often we can also index them or access their elements by object in box brackets. We write the key name and we'll get the value. Let me yeah, I think this would be visible. Yeah, so this is how we access objects. Now what we'll do is we'll define arrays. What are arrays? Arrays are basically a group of several elements. Array, group of several elements. So we can define it as suppose we are making a list of a group of friends: John, Mark, Gary, Helmut. So again, if we want to print out the array, we will just go console.log and that will basically give us the data of the array. Now we need to understand while working with arrays that what is indices. Now for indices I'll be using to a whiteboard. Suppose this is our array. This array has a lot of elements. Now how do we navigate against the elements? Well, we can use that what we call indices. The indices are basically the index numbers through which we can access the array. For example, the first one is in the 0 index, the second element is in the first index, the third element is in the second index, and the fourth element is the third index, and so on. So indices always start from from the order of 0 and continue infinitely. So yeah, and if we want to use it, we had already used it in the object area, but let's use it in the arrays. Suppose we want to we need the first index, that is John. So array box brackets, yeah, that is how you access indices. 0, we'll get John. Then if we want 3, then we won't get the third element, we get the fifth element because the index starts from 0, so it's one order behind. So we got Helmut. And the indices can be displayed by your browser whenever you are actually printing it out. So yeah, it becomes pretty easy to look at the indices and guess how indexing works. Now that we have understood arrays, we'll go to operators. Now for operators, we will be going through four major types of operators, with our arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, and logical operators. Operators basically allow you to perform certain logical or mathematical comparisons between two or more values. So first of all, let's come to arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators basically help us uh, to perform all the arithmetic operations. For example, the addition operator, then there's the subtraction operator, the multiplication operator, the division operator, and the modulus operator. Addition operator, of course, as it's pretty obvious, it will return us the sum of 4 and 2, and subtraction will give us the result of 4 minus 2. Then the multiplication will give us the product of 4 and 2, and the division will give us the 4 divided by 2, the quotient. And this modulus operator, what it will do is it will return the remainder when we divide 4 by 2. So when we divide 4 by 2, there is no remainder, it's 0. And when we divide 5 by 2, then it's 1, because 1 gets left after 2 divides. So there is no scope of decimals here. It's just giving you the remainder. Let's go to our console and see. So first one, where does this 9 come from? Oh yeah, we were printing 9 a long time ago. So I'll comment that out, and now we'll see. This is 4 plus 2, this is 4 minus 2, this is 4 into 2, this is 4 by 2, and this is the remainder. Suppose for the remainder, if I give 5, then this would be 1, because the remainder is 1. You can also directly operate here, as I have already shown you. 5 module 2 is 1. And then after arithmetic operators, we will go to assignment operators. Assignment operators are basically involved in assigning values to certain data types. Certain data types of variables. Now, assignment operator, the most common one that we'll use is this equal to sign, which we are already using from pretty much the start of the program, because that's how we defined our variables. So this is called the equal to assigning operator. And then we have our plus equal to operator. Now what does this mean? Plus equal to means that it is similar as this line of code. So it means that add 5 to the already existing value of d. So let's define both, and let's console.log. So you will see we got 8. Now why did we get 8? Because our variable d was initially 3, and we added 5 more to it. So this is nothing but a short approach to using this. We could also use the same line of code and do the same task, but it would not be it would not be that efficient or that short. Similarly, pretty logically, this does the same thing. It subtracts 2 from 3 without the hassle of writing another few blocks of code. So we'll get 1 here. Then we have the increment and decrement operators. The increment operator increases the value of d by 1. So if I'm going back to my console, I get 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. And same with the decrement operator, it subtracts the value by 1. So I get 2. These are basically assignment operators. Then we have comparison operators. Now comparison operators can be either they can be of course the greater than and lesser than signs, and these always return boolean values if the expression is true or not. So 56 is greater than 32, so what we have written is completely true, so it has been printing true. And the next expression 56 is smaller than 32, but it is actually not smaller than 32, so it is returning as false. Now if we wrote something like 4 is lesser than 34, then it would return us true in both cases, because what we have written is indeed true. And then we have our, let's just comment these out just to clean the just to keep the console clean. And these are the greater than, equal to, or lesser than equal to. Now what does that mean? That means this particular condition will be true if 32 is lesser than equal to 33, lesser than 33 or equal to 33. So this is usually used to fill the gap between okay, something is larger than my parameter, something is lower than my parameter. What if I give a parameter that's equal to my parameter? So that is basically defining that if it's equal to the other operand, then also you should return true. So we wrote 32 here, so this should be true of course, because 32 is lesser than 33. And same for the next one, same with the next one, 23 is indeed lesser than 32, so both will return us true. And if we suppose write 33 here and 23 here, that means they are not greater, they are not lesser, but they are equal to, so it should still return us true. And it has indeed returned us true. Another comparison operator is the equal to. 2 equal to 2. So this basically checks that if one value is equal to the other value, and this is defined by a double equal sign, because the first equal sign or the single equal sign is already an assignment operator. While we are using the equal as a comparison, then we are using or implementing double equal signs. So that was it for comparison operators. Let's go to logical operators. Now logical operators, we have AND, OR, and NOT. AND is pretty much pretty obvious. If both of the conditions or both of the parameters are true, then AND will return true. If any of them are false, then AND will return false, and if both are false, then also AND will return false. So the only condition where AND returns true is when both of the parameters are true. While in OR operators, you will see that we have if any of the parameters are true, not necessarily both, but any of them are true, then it returns true. And if both are true, then also it returns true. But if both are false, and only if both are false, it will return false. Then let's look at the console itself. Yeah, the first case returns true, rest are false, because the first case has both true and rest have either one false or both false. And for logical OR operator, it returns true, the first one for true and second one false because none of them are true, and here at least one is true. Now logical NOT operators are pretty simple. NOT basically says return me, that is not my parameter. If you give it true, then it will return false. If you give false, it will return true. we can look at this simply by going to the console, where it returns false first and then true, and we are given true first and then false, so it is basically giving us the inverse. Now, what are functions? Functions are basically block of code that we define once, and you can reuse it later in a later state of your program. Let's define a function. Function average a b, and we'll write return a plus b by 2. Now, what did we write? Well, we defined the function by using the keyword function, and then we write the function name, and then we write the parameters. Now, parameters are what will be passed to the function when we are when we are calling it. And return statement basically defines that what should the function get in return when it's stored in a variable. For example, when we were looking at comparison operators, the comparison operators returned boolean basically, and it could be either true or false. Now, that is what we call here, that what should we return. So I just defined that we should return this value, which is a plus b by 2, which is basically the average formula. So console.log avg, you can simply call it by the function name, and we write 9 and 6, which should be 7.5. So let's go back to our, we get 7.5 here. So again, why do we use functions? Well, this is a pretty minute example of a function because it's a little block of code, but there are often functions with tons and tons of lines of code, and what basically so those tons and tons of lines of code often make the code really long if we are always manually defining it. Hence, we use functions so that we can write the code only once and later just make a reference to the function, and we can accept the outputs after that. Similarly, I can write a lot of other instances of the function. So we say 5 and 4, then 4 and 6, then 8 and 2, then and 2 and 4. So in exactly in this way, it will return us a different values. So this is what functions were basically. Now we'll move on to conditionals. Now, to understand conditionals, we need to I'll go through a mini verification system. Suppose you want to make a system where you input the age and you are trying to verify that the person can vote or not. In my country, India, everybody can vote over the age of 18. So let's say our age is 15. We define a variable. You can use the var too, but in modern JavaScript, usually they have added this functionality to explicitly add variables without defining var or let or const. I'll come to let and const later. But yeah, the problem with this is that this is more of the explicit and rough way and childish way to program. So I'll just use var here. We'll try to be the most systematic as we can, because you'll always see, for example, I have added a semicolon here, but none of those lines have a semicolon. It is always recommended to use a semicolon. Even the modern JavaScript has removed the necessity of a semicolon, but it always helps you to structure the code accordingly and organize it. So you can define that the statement ends here. I don't like the new additions they made, like loosening up the syntax, but better stick to convention. Now we want to verify if if the age is over 18, then we'll be declaring it eligible to vote over or equal to 18. Or if it's under 18, then of course we need to tell the user that you cannot vote. So we'll write if bracket age greater than equal to, that's our assignment operator, no, comparison operator, 18, and then we give curly brackets, then we write our code console.log you are eligible to vote, and we can write else If the above condition is not satisfied, which is this, if this is not satisfied, console.log you are not eligible to vote. Let's see what the console gives us. You're not eligible to vote. So that's because our age is 15. Now let's increase it to 19. You are eligible to vote. So conditionals are such statements like if else, which allow us to check if a given condition is true, and what if, suppose this was if else, and what if we wanted to, let's think of an example. Let's consider a hypothetical situation where an age criteria for the junior school is under 11, and high school is between 11 and 18, and colleges when the age is above 18. So let's define var age equal to 14 and write the logic for it. If age is more than equal to or more than 18, then you are in college. Oh wait, console.log. You can also always use log too. I mean, that's what VS Code offers us. That's an advantage. So VS Code has a lot of emits. For example, if I wanted to warn, I can simply type warn and then I will get the whole thing out. So I'll be using this from now on. Now, what if we wanted to, this is when we write the condition of the age is under 18 and the age is over 11. So we'll write else if age is lesser than equal to 18 and, that is the logical AND operator, age is over 11, then we'll write then we write you are in high school. Else console.log. Why didn't I use that? Never mind. You are in junior school. So it basically, the logic is that if your age is over 18, then you will be considered a college student. If your age is under or equal to 18 and over 11, you are in high school. Else, which is basically applying to the numbers below 11, so they will be considered junior school. Now we have entered 14, that is why our categorization is in high school. Then we registered 12, then also we are in high school. Let's say 11, then we are in junior school. 10, we are in junior school, and 100, 122, we are in college. I know this is a baseless hypothetical situation, but this is just to explain the else if blocks. Now another thing that we can use is another conditional statement. Suppose while we are age equal to 18. Now we can write, actually no, what we'll write is we are friend. Now you want to address your you want to give separate messages to your separate friends. Let's just define it for now, and yeah, you can choose to define a variable and assign the value later. So we defined the friend variable. Now we'll say switch friend. Emmet gave me the whole code block. So friend, the variable will be here. Now case, suppose my friend's name or the value is, actually I'll make it easier for you. Friend equal to Ram. Case Ram log hello Ram, and we can write some other case. we can write another case, that is, one second. Yeah, let's cross it into it a bit. Yeah, so we can write Sham, then hello Sham, then we can write another case, that's Amit, hello Amit. So a switch statement basically takes a variable, and according to the value of the variable we can write cases. Now these cases will define that अगर ये इस वेरिएबल का ऐसा वैल्यू निकलता है तो how will it respond to the variable. अगर इसका वैल्यू राम निकलेगा then it will respond as hello Ram. If it's Sham, then it will respond as hello Sham, and if it's Amit, then it will respond as hello Amit. And default will tell or will define what to do when none of the cases are matched. So suppose I wrote something like Kunal, and I can just write here, I don't know you, and it's important to attach a break in the end of every case definition, because that helps us quit the switch block. Now hello Ram, this is printed just because our name is or the friend value is having Ram. Then suppose we get Sham, hello Sham. Amit, hello Amit. Suppose we get Kunal, I don't know you, just because none of them matched. So the code under default block gets used whenever none of the cases are matched. This was pretty simple. And then we are done with conditionals. Now we come to loops. Now what are loops? Loops are basically pieces of code that can be run over a certain number of times. For example, if we have an array of people, and like a huge array of people that we are too lazy to analyze and find out, so we can that we'll do that later. But first of all, let's define an array or define friends, Madhu, Sandy, Maddie, Amit. These are suppose these are my friends and I wanted to print their names out. Then what should I do? I'll use the for loop, for parenthesis var I equal to 0. I define a variable called I lesser than friends dot length I plus plus, or the increment operator. Then I write log friends I. Let's see what happens. We'll see that we get it has been logged about the names of the three friends, or the four elements of the list. Now, how do we explain this? The for loop basically takes such a suggestion that for this condition to be true, and the condition can be set in a recession. So for this condition to be true, execute the following block of code. Now let's understand what we did here. We defined a value called I. Let's take I as value. I mean it will be 0. Then we are checking if I is lesser than the length of this array. So friends.length basically gives you 4, which is the length of the array. It is an array method. So friends.length gives you the array. So it checks if array is lesser than 4. Then what it does is, then it increments the I. So what happens after this is, slowly with every iteration, I's value changes to 0. First it's initially 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. This after that it becomes equal to 4. So this condition is no more valid. So the loop stops executing. Now I plus plus I++ is used for incrementation. So it is the reason why this goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. So it is gradually increasing the increments or increasing the value of I, and with each repetition of I can attach a certain condition, and according to that condition the number of times the loop will run is defined. For example, if I wrote I equal to 10 and console dot I lesser than 10 and console I would write I, then you will see we have the numbers from 0 to 9 because the initial value of I was 0. The for loop is such we can iterate arrays through the for loop. We can also do certain operations like the one we did just right now, like printing numbers from 1 to 10. And now what we'll do is we'll do the yeah, an alternate way of iterating arrays is what we can do. We can write friends dot for each equal to function, and we can write a function here, console dot log function element, because we are passing the element, function element console dot log element. Let's comment this out. Then you will see what happens is we again get the same output. Instead of using a for loop, we could use the for each function, where inside which we define a function accepting the element. Element is basically the iterations of the iterations or the elements of the list, and for each element we could perform some operations. So this was also an array method. So you could the for each function is really useful at times. Then there is the while loop. Now what is while loop? While loop sets a constraint. While loop is another way of executing a loop. So for example, let I equal to 0. Now you would be wondering that what is this let and why did I use it instead of var? When var or var is basically it is a very conventional way of using JavaScript. I mean, it's a very old method of using JavaScript, and it is considered depreciated now because of the implementation of let and calls. Now, so the difference between the let and var, there are two main differences. First of all, var can be redefined while not redefined, it can be redeclared, while let cannot be, and that makes let more secure and safe. For example, if we try var a equal to 23 and then var a equal to 24, it will immediately throw us an error. No, it won't, because this is var. So var allows us to redeclare variables. Now what if we did let? If we did let here, then you will see we are already getting an error, and even if we go to our inspect element, we will see identified a has already been declared, so we can't redefine it, but we can still reassign the value. So we won't reuse the let command. Let is for declaring a variable and declaring the variable only once. So like how many times you declare the variable, basically the variable starts getting stored on your memory. So if you define the variable a ton of times, then your memory will literally bloat up. So yeah, it's a very straightforward use of let rather than var. And another major difference between var and let is, let's consider an if-else block. If age equal to 18, or anything, we can write something here, like one second, else, etc. And if we write, actually let's remove else, age को 19. Now in the if conditional, if we write var a equal to 5, print a not print, Python objects a Now if we try to go outside the block and print like outside the if block, basically in our mainline code, and if we print a, you will see that a will be printed two times. One second, what's this? No, no. Yeah, a is printed two times. Now what if we use let here? You'll see we'll face an error. Why are we facing an error? Because in let you cannot use your variable outside the block. So this is the if block, and let variables are constructed to this block, and basically gets its use depreciates once it exists this block. So that also enhances the memory. So it is always more comfortable, and it is recommended to use let rather than var. So we'll be using let from now throughout the course. And there's also another one, that is const. Now what is const? Const is a constant variable. 23. Now once we define a const, we can't redefine it. If we want to a equal to 2, if you want to redefine it again, you will see that I can't assign to a constant variable. So const is defined once and for all. That is basically what const is, and const is also block scope. So if you are defining it in a block, then outside the block you can't access it. That makes your code safer in memory. Now back to while loops. What we'll do is we will assign let I equal to 0, and while I lesser than 5, print, oh no, not print, log I and I plus plus. This is basically a rough way on how we define the for loop. We are doing it manually here. We are first of all defining the I value as 0, then we are giving the conditional that while I is lesser than 5, and then we are at the end incrementing the value of I so that it can loop, it can constantly loop. So for loop logic is basically this compressed into one line. So this might help you to understand what we did here even better. So what happens? One second. If we reload our document, why is it taking time to read? Yeah, the light server crashed a bit. So that's how we get our variable. That's how we get our output. We are printing all the numbers that are under 5. If we wanted to choose, or if we wanted to print numbers between 1 and 5, then we could say I equal to 1 and this equal to 6, or lesser than equal to 5. Then you will see we have 1 to 5 printed. These were while loops. There is another kind of loops, do while loops. They are pretty similar to what we do in while loops. Console.log. We'll write the piece of code first. After do, then we write the condition. Then you might ask, what is the difference between so you might ask, what is the difference between that and this? What you will notice is, whenever we are using the do while loop, there will be minimum of one iteration, because the interpreter will go line by line, and first of all it will recognize do, then it will execute this code at least once. In case of this, it will first check the condition. If the condition is true or not, then it will execute the code. But in do while, it will at least execute the code once before it checks the condition. So interpreted languages, the interpreter reads them line by line. So as do comes first in a do while loop, this will be executed at least once, then the condition will be checked. That is why you will see, if we are going to our this thing, then you will see we have 1 to 6, and that's pretty surprising. That's because it had already been defined once. So this code had already ran once. So at this point of time, the value of I was 0, and at this point of time, the I had already been 1. So the value had already been I plus 1. So that time the i's value was 1, and after that the condition checked, that is 1 lesser than 5 or not. So it will work the same as if we wanted to do here. No, this was, the I was 1, right? So the I would remain 1 here, and this will become 2. So the iteration comes first and then the condition is checked. That is why there appears a delay that prints actually 6 numbers instead of 5 numbers. That is it with the do while loop. Now we'll look at array methods, and for that we'll go to our browser because it would be better understood here. Let's define an array. Let a 2, 3, Harry, true, null. Our array has 5 elements. We can also put, we don't get these VS Code features here. Console.log array. In such a way we could see the indices. Now we'll see at what we can do, or what are the inbuilt functions of JavaScript that we can implement on arrays, which are also called array methods. First of all, we can use array.length. This will give us the length or the number of elements in the array. Then there is array.toString. If we did this, then what it will do is it will convert all the elements of the array to a string of itself, which is separated by commas by default. Now I guess if we do toString, no, that doesn't work here, but anyway, yeah, toString basically helps us convert the array into a single string separated by commas. Next one that we look into is join. Now consider two arrays. One is 2 and 3. Add 1. Let's this is a separate variable. Let array 1 equal to 2 and 3 array, and let r2 equal to, say, having 4 and 5. Now what if we wanted to join the both arrays? So to merge two arrays, we need to use .concat, not concatenation. So when we use concat and we did r2, then we'll see we have our final array, which is basically 2, 3, 4 and 5. The elements of ARR2 were joined to the end of the elements of ARR1. I'll just reference them as array 1 and array 2 because I'm not literally speaking the variables. Anyway, that was the concat method. Next one is push. No, pop and push, and redefine. Yeah, we have our array here for the cleanliness. We have our array here. If we do our dot pop, you'll see we get return null. Now why is it return null? When we are actually executing this, what this returns is the object that was removed. So the last object or the last element of an array gets removed every time we run pop. Now if we, or no, we don't need to console log here, we automatically get wrong. Now if you look at the array, the number of elements has decreased and the new array doesn't have null in it. Now what if I did push? Dot push new. Then this basically gives us the new length of the array, but if you want to verify if our array got changed or not, we'll see that while displaying our array is now having 5 elements with the last element being new. So pop is used to remove the last element of an array, while push is used to add to the last element of the array. Similarly, we can use shift and unshift to modify the first element of an array. Suppose ar.shift, then what happens is, let's see, yeah, it returns us the value that was removed. Shift is used to remove the first element of the array. So if we again look at our, yeah, so in our new array 2 is removed, which was the first element, and if we do array.unshift 2, then what happens is array, and the new element is by default there enters 2. Now the 2 has been entered as a string, just because I entered it as a string here. So shift and unshift are used for removing and adding elements at the beginning of the list. Now we'll see what is slice. First of all, we'll look at how to change the values of an element. So we can use it by indexing. The first index of 0 will be equal to 4. Now in our new array, instead of 2, we are getting 4. Then there is, now let's see what slice. What we can do is, sometimes suppose I want to create a new array that has only the first 3 elements. What should I do? Now we have our array. Now we have array.slice 0 2 0 3. That gives us Harry. Now how does this work? This works, first of all we start with the starting index, which is 4, and then we write the ending index. This index is the third index. The third index is 2. Now one thing that we should notice is the third index doesn't get included, it gets excluded, and the elements that are before it get counted. So if I was giving 2, then Harry wouldn't be coming to me, and my goal was to obtain 4, 3 and Harry into another array. So that's what I did. I defined the end limit as true, or the third element, and the third element got ignored until the second element, my array got sliced. What I can also do is, instead of defining 0 here at the start, I can just simply do 2. No, yeah. Yeah, I can just define the starting, and yeah, if I define one argument here, then it will start from the argument, but it will end at the end of the list, or at the last index of the list. So if I'm doing 1, say, then after the index of 1, all the elements will be sliced into another array. Now let's look at array.sort. Array.sort is, if we sort this array, we'll see that the arrays have been sorted alphabetically. This is a drawback in JavaScript. That is, I'm going to show you. Let's define a new array. Let with some large values like this. Now if we write 3.sort, you'll see they are sorted very weirdly. Why are they sorted very weirdly? Because all of them are sorted alphabetically. So the drawback here is, though these numbers are larger, some of these numbers are larger than each other, they are not in the correct order because they have been sorted according to the alphabet, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Because they are always processed as strings. Now this was the sort function. Then comes the reverse function. The reverse function is pretty much um, self-explanatory. If we were sorting anything, again if we reverse it, then the order will be reversed. And that was array methods. Now we'll continue with string methods. Now to proceed with string methods, we go back to our console and we define a string. Say hello, I am Jack. This is our string. Now here we can again get string.length. That will give us the number of indices that will include the spaces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. Then there's s dot index of h on suppose I. This gives us 6 because 6 is in the because I is in the 6th index. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or actually 0 index starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I is located in the 6th index. That is why we are getting 6. Now you need to note that if my string was hello I am I Jack, then index of I would still return 6 because it always references into the first occurrence of I. So, when you go vertically, when you go horizontally from left to right, then the first element that appears to it is what helps it define the index. Now what if I wanted to, for this case, if I want to know what is the index of this, I can write last index of, that would be 11. So that basically starts analyzing from right to left instead of left to right. So while going to from right to left, the first occurrence that it faces will be considered the element. So we can again verify that this is pretty much this is in the 11th index. Now what we can do is we can use similarly the slice function. We can say slice end में 5. From we can cut out hello by skipping the first 5 indexes. So we'll get I am I Jack. That sounds weird, but okay. And then or we can define both start and end. That is 0 से लेकर index of 5. That would give us hello. 0 से लेकर index of 10. That would give us hello I am, and accordingly. So slice is also serving the same function as in the array methods. Now there is let's redefine the string because it looks really weird. So let's go back to hello I am Jack. Now we'll see. Yep. Now we'll see s dot replace. In replace, we can put 2 arguments. One is say instead of hello, I want to replace it with good morning. Hello, comma, good morning. This is our output string, or this is our resultant string, which would be good morning I am Jack instead of hello I am Jack. So it replaces the first occurrence with the word. And what if I had I am here to say hello. So there are 2 hellos here, right? Now if we replace it, then we'll still see that this occurs. What we can do is we can do replace all. Replace all. Acha. So this is basically anything that you write in in JavaScript, even within the strings, it becomes case sensitive. So what we will do here is, for now, for the time being, we will write hello in camel case. Now we will be running this command, and you will see that all the occurrences of hello have been replaced. Now, yeah, again, as this is case sensitive, we have another two string methods: s dot to uppercase and s dot to lowercase. In both of them, so if we wanted to solve the problem that we were facing up here, we could again redefine the string as what we did. Now what we will do is s dot to lowercase dot replace hello good morning. Or what we could also do is, one second, what's the issue? Fine, I was not using the replace all, never mind. Yeah, so this is when it executes properly. And otherwise, if we wanted to have the same casing here, then what we needed to do is we needed to first of all parse this as a lowercase, then replace the sentence, and then probably, actually no, yeah, we need to parse it separately, and then we have to attach it to the new string. That would be some process, but yeah. So that was basically string methods. Now let's come to dates in JavaScript. Dates in JavaScript. I'll be listing this file down there, so I'm including notes in there. And during date, now how do we define date? I will say let d equal to new date. Date is an object in JavaScript. Log d. Yeah, we have our date here. So this is what my current date here is. That is, I'm in India, so there's Indian Standard Time. It is showing me that it's 2:57. It's September 15th. So it basically uses the default time zone that is integrated with our browser. Now there are several methods that we can use with date. One is date. Say, let's just get it down there. D dot get date. Get date. Yeah, get date. That would give us the day of the month. Then I could say get month. Yeah, get month. That would be the 8th month of the year. That's September. And then there is get day. That will give us it is the 5th day of the year. That means it is Friday, because it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. So there goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in that case, that is the 5th day. Now, after getting day, we could have more functions. That is get hours. No, right. Yeah, get hours. That would be the 14th hour of the day. Then d dot get. You could tweak around these, and you could get your desired minutes. Like this should give us 57. Yeah, 58 minutes. Now let's clear console a bit. And these were basically the get methods on how to retrieve information. Now you can also set dates. D dot set hours. say 16. Now if I console or not console, let's say D, then you will see the hours has been changed to our this one, yeah, 16. And we could also set hours as set month, say I'll say 10. Again, then if we print out D, it will give us November 8, 9, yeah. And all of these indices are they are starting from 0, so that is why the 10th month is not October and it is instead November, and that is why September is not the 8th month in real life, but it is here. Those were dates in JavaScript. Set timeout and set interval. Set timeout, once a time interval is over, then the code is run. Then suppose set timeout 2000, that would be in milliseconds, so it would be 2 seconds. 2000. Then I'll give a function, and in the function I would say log hello 2 seconds. Now we'll be able to see. Okay, it's pretty much the opposite way around. First we define the function, then we define the time. Yeah. So whenever we load the website, we will see if we reload it, 2 seconds later the code is getting executed and the code is printing hello 2 seconds. Now the same is with set interval, but set interval where the function that we write gets executed after certain intervals. For example, log hello after 1 second, and let's get 2 seconds, we would be able to visualize it better. Hello after 2 seconds, and then we define 2000. Yeah, so you will see one by one the number of time it gets printed gets displayed here. So every 2 seconds the code is running and running and running and again, and it is providing us our output. That's basically what is the timeout time, set time, set interval and set timeout. Now what you can do is, if you wanted to stop it, you can simply go clear interval and pass the interval instance. That would stop our interval ka process. Same happens in timeout. Suppose I have given a really long timeout, some 20 seconds. Now I want, now it won't, first of all I will clear the interval of this. Yeah. Now the timeout will be, the display will, the text will be displayed after 20 seconds. If I want to display it earlier, then all I can do is, first of all I need to set this in a variable. Let t equal to timeout, set timeout, and then we can just clearly, same syntax, clear timeout a. That would clear the timeout for our this certain specific, and this logging will never occur. This is how we can close timeouts, clear a timeout or end an interval. Now these were basically the set timeout and set interval functions. Now we'll go to a more practical part of JavaScript. Not as a practical as in a more visual part of JavaScript, where we'll integrate JavaScript into the HTML code. For example, let's create a div which I'll call container, and I'll write there hello world. Now we have this container in here. Now I'll show you the example of DOM manipulation. First of all, let's define an ID here. id equal to id equal to say hello. Now we can use something called called get element.id. For that, we'll first of all let's understand what's DOM manipulation. DOM means document object model. So it basically means treating the whole document, our whole HTML document, as an object and manipulating the features of it. So we can write document. So you will see when I'm actually referencing document, the part gets highlighted. Dot get element by id. If you write a hello, then you will see that it returns us where we have written our hello world. Now if we do document dot get element dot id dot inner text equal to hello, you will see that in our HTML the text changes to hello. This is how we can change HTML attributes. We could even change the we could even assign some classes, or not even classes. Let's say the style dot border equal to 2px solid red. Achha. Fine. We have to enclose this in double quotes. So you will see that we have added styling to it. We could even add several margins. I mean, once you define the style, you will get a lot of options like say margin. I'll apply a margin of 20px. You will see that we have applied a margin. Then we can similarly apply padding. Padding will be 20px. So we can simply style it like this, and we can change the text inside as inner text. And if we wanted to add some formatting, we could say inner HTML equal to, suppose we want to make it bold, we add the bold tags, then this will become bold. So zoom into the contents of the website. Yeah, so that provides a better view, I wish. Now we can also we can explore what do we mean by get element.id. I mean, it's pretty simple. So get element.id basically helps us define or retrieve an element from the document. Now we can achieve that element or get that element through many parameters. We can suppose let's make another one, button id click me and hello. Now click me. After this, what we will do is we have a button here. Let's add a beer tag. Yeah, we have our two elements here. Now if we did say let a equal to document dot get element by id, get element by id, and we input an id of the element that we want to get, because IDs are unique. So the function is called element by id. But as you know, the classes multiple instances, classes can have multiple instances, or many elements can have the same classes. That is why when we are trying to get elements by class name, then you will see there's elements instead of element. So it will return us an array of elements or the results. So say if we say container, class name container. Now A will be an HTML collection of just because there's one instance. Now let me make multiple instances of container. Say then you will see there are a lot of instances created right now, and if we are gonna mention 0 or the first index, actually one second, we didn't define it yet. And if we now search A, you will see that we have a lot of collections. I mean, the collection has a lot of items, and when we hover through it in most browsers, you will probably be able to look at the reference. And if we want to access any one of those elements, that would be through indices, etc., etc. Now what happens is, that was class name. We could also use tag name. That is now yeah, let's say button. Again, now if we look at A, then there would be such 5 buttons, only the button objects. And if we suppose wanted the second button, which is, or the third button, which is this one, yeah, so we have our button. And this is how we select elements to process. What we could also do is, we could add classes. For example, if we want to add some classes to these buttons, or suppose the first button, for example, but yeah, let's define that first button equal to a. So first button is basically this button. So whenever we refer first button, we will be referring this first button. Exactly. So the first button can be edited as first button dot class list dot add. We add a class called button. So what basically happens after that is, see, first of all, this has no class. Now we will first of all retrieve the class list, or the already the set of already existing class of the button, and then append to it. Now what if we appended to it add button? We did it. Now if we go to our source code, and the first one, we'll see that this has a class called button. Our button has a class called button. Like such, we can also remove classes. Remove button. So that would again remove the class for us. And then what we can also do is, we can also create elements in JavaScript. How do we create elements? Well, what do we do is, first of all, let element equal to create element document dot create element, and then I would say tag name b, and we could write a element dot inner text equal to hello world. Acha. Hello world. Yeah. So now what we can do is, we can document dot, or forget document. We had a container class, right? I think we did. Yeah, container class. Let A be defined as that. So we are basically referring to the first container, that is this, and we want to add this element, which is basically a bold element having a text hello world in it. So what we will do is we will do a 0 dot append child element. That should add our element in the code. Even if we go back to our source code, you will see that we added a new tag called bold with hello world, and that is how we essentially add childs. We can also remove these elements. Childs are basically the subclasses inside the parent class. We can remove the child element, that would remove it. We could also replace the child element with something that would involve the creation of other elements. So let's not do that. And another thing that I want to clarify here is, first of all, from CSS you might know what are selectors. Now we can use selectors in JavaScript too. How do we do that? Well, in JavaScript, instead of always going to the traditional method of get element by ID, get elements by class name, get elements of tag, etc., etc., what we can do, the modern versions of JavaScript had one single feature that removed the necessity to have so many separate names, and that is called document dot query selector. Query selector. In query selector, what we can do is we can either add the class name as a selector, similarly in the way we do CSS. Similarly, if we want to reference an ID, we would say hashtag, and then we would write the ID name, suppose hello. That would essentially give us the first instance. And if you are wondering how to get all of them, like a list, you can't get a list of IDs because ID is unique. But say we wanted the container list, then we would get this one single list that we would get similar to the get elements by class name. So query selector eliminates the need of all of the other get element by ID, class name, tag name. But yeah, we can also do tag name here. For example, H. No, not H. We didn't have an H. B. Okay, so we had essentially removed that block. So never mind. Let's say button. Then that gives us a list of all the buttons in the website. This is how DOM manipulation works. There are a lot of methods for DOM manipulation. You just have to pick up a reference, and it is literally the solution to everything. Actually, DOM reference, JavaScript reference, W3 schools. That's what I generally use. So JavaScript reference, the whole reference is here, from functions to all of these are default functions, not the ones you will make in your program, of course, because that would be only in your computer. But the default functions, then the keywords, then the arrays, etc., etc. There are a ton of material like that. So that's pretty much it. Now we'll move on to events in JavaScript. First of all, let's clear this away. We need only one for now. Fine. So we have a button. We have one button and this particular piece of text. Now events are basically responses given by the JavaScript program whenever we interact with any element on this screen. For example, first of all, I want to add some styling here just because it would be useful in a later state of the video. So let's just write style, and that would be dot container border 2px solid red background color blue. Actually not blue, Okay. Yeah, that's it for now. And probably I'd like to add some margin. That's 20 pixels. And some padding. That's 20 pixels. Just for some. And now let's write some JavaScript. I'll be attaching nodes to DOM manipulation later. First of all, let's write events in JavaScript. Now, one thing that we can do is, while interacting with buttons, we need to define on what happens when clicking the button. So let's say if this button is clicked, this hello world text will change to I was clicked, and probably a console log too. So we can define inside the HTML itself on click equal to, say, clicked. This is a function name, and this function name will be defined in our JavaScript file. Clicked. Okay. Yeah. Function clicked will be executing log of I was clicked. Let's see if this works. Click me. One second. What happened? Oh, never mind. Our script tag got somehow deleted, probably due to the last edit. Yeah, click me. If we continuously click this, then it is showing that it is displaying that it was clicked. Now, let's say this is the element container, not even container. This is, yeah. Instead of this, we can enclose this in a tab. Hello world, and we can give its ID text. Hello, text h, and then we'll simply go by let a equal to document dot get element by id text h a dot inner text equal to hello. So let's go. Click me. Why doesn't it no? Let's see. Text h, the ID got selected. Yeah, so dot inner text. Okay, this was the wrong command. We need to use the lowercase I. Then, as we can see, when we click this, the text gets changed. This is how events work in JavaScript. This is a very basic example. And what we could also do is, for other instead of directly defining in the HTML, what we can do is a dot add event listener, and in add event listener, first of all we add click, then we write function that would be log I was clicked. We can do similar stuff here. Yeah. Now again, if I click it, then in our console, oh, never mind. This should be button, and this should be tag name, and here first index, because we are referring to the first button. Now if we click this should work. console.log. Let's look at this document dot get elements by tag name, and that would be button 0, and then we add an event listener, and in the event listener what we do is, let this be an array, and here we give the reference to the first element, index 0, and we added an event fee, and just because I haven't introduced you to this yet, let's see if this works. Now why does it not work? Okay, fine. Array, I was including the whole thing in the function. I don't know why for the whole time. Never mind. Yeah. Now, yeah, as you can see, if we click the button, then it comes, and I was clicked. Now we can do something very similar to this. I mean, we can do a lot of stuff with events. For example, there's another event called mouse over. Now let's write let a, no, not a again, let a document dot get elements by id hello. I hope this was the, yeah, this was our container name. So this whole region will be selected, and what happens now is we'll say b dot add event listener. There we have a lot of options. What we can do is we will go down, or just mouse over. Now what this event stands for is whenever your mouse is over the this specific function, this specific area. So when I'm actually bringing my mouse above this this blue container, that is when I am actually activating the mouse over function. Now function mouse is over. Actually no, whatever. Yeah, log mouse is over. Now if we bring our cursor up against the if we bring it over of that this container, then we'll be able to set the counter, because whenever we go inside it increases the counter. And same happens if I do mouse out, if that is right, yeah, mouse out, that should mouse is out. That means I am entering, and when I am exiting from that region, that is the time when the console.log occurs. These were elements, really nothing much. Now what I want to show you is arrow functions. Arrow functions are more of an easier way to define functions. For example, let a or let sum equal to a parenthesis ab arrow. This arrow is made by an equal to sign and a greater than sign, and it is it will be defined as, or let's make it single line because we are testing to make it short. Return a plus b. Now if we write say like log sum of a not a 1 and 2, then we'll see that it's printed that the sum is 3. So arrow functions are basically an easier way to define functions. We could use the same thing up here. Instead of writing function every time, we could just write a parenthesis and then an arrow. That would serve the same purpose as a function. That is always used instantaneously once you don't need to actually define the function, like in this particular event. And for this one also, it is like a lambda function. You can write it at one go, and or you can also write it in block mode. So yeah, arrow functions basically help you to shorten the work of writing long functions with the function keyword. That was important because throughout your JavaScript career, not career, but journey, I call it journey, seems a bit more informal. So throughout your journey, you'll always see there are stuff like there are some messy codes that don't really use functions every time. There are many programmers who are always into using that instantaneous method just because many frameworks encourage it by themselves. Now we come to our last topic for today, that is local storage. Now first of all, before I'm gonna tell you what local storage is, I will be going through this application. An application you will see there is this thing called local storage. Now for this network, there is currently no value set for the local storage, but I'm going to tell you what local storage is. Local storage is basically it is like it has the amount of data stored in a particular network or a particular host. Now that data can be stored by the website, and it is client side. So usually when you're using local storage to store data, always try to avoid including sensitive data in the local storage, just because anyone who is visiting your website anyone can visit the local storage. So sensitive data will be easily retrieved by the person who is watching, who is basically accessing your website. Even in google.com, even in basic websites like google.com, there are some informations and local data in the local storage. If I go to application and then I go to local storage, you will see there is some specific data out here. There is a lot of data out here. That's none of my business. That's more of a Google side thing. But yeah, so how do you set values in the local storage? It's completely easy. First of all, we can do local storage dot set item, and set item we'll write the key and the value. Say name John. Now when we reload the website, in the local storage you will see there is a variable called name, and it has the value of John. Now another thing that we can do is local storage, say we will retrieve stuff, get item name, that would be set in a variable n equal to name, not set, let, and n and log n. So let's go to our console. You will see that we have retrieved the value from the local storage. It is John. We could also set stuff like we could also do stuff like remove item. For example, local storage dot remove item name, that would give us, so our local storage is empty now because the item has already been removed. Another thing that we could do is create the whole local storage at the same point. This I would rather do. First of all, let me fill it up a bit. Keys cannot be duplicated, so I need to change them. Say name 1, name 2, name 3, 4, 5. So our let's remove this. Yeah. So our local storage is full now. Let's go to the console. Local storage dot clear application. Yeah, the local storage is empty. This was a basic introduction to local storage, and that's how we continue today's tutorial. And I hope you guys understood the basics of JavaScript. These weren't even basic, these were pretty much at an intermediate level, because events and DOM manipulation and all. And of course, we are gonna do projects later on. And for now, that's it. Yeah.